Sir, I mean, let's start with a case that was filed to try to disqualify Bongbong Marcos. What do you make of that? Both on the level of, if I'm understanding correctly, basically trying to invalidate the COC because he had failed to declare something that should potentially disqualify him. And then on the other hand, this legal theory put forth initially by Justice Carpio about moral turpitude and defining tax evasion as among those that violate moral turpitude. What do you make of that, sir?
Well, actually there are two tracks. One is violation of Section 12 and of the Omnibus Election Code, and the other is Section 78. And under Section 12 is, if he's convicted crime with a penalty of 18 months imprisonment, then he can be disqualified. That's Section 12. And if he has indeed been convicted, it's a question of fact. It is an administrative job, ministerial. The COMELEC must disqualify him from running. Or if it's
But
under...
that is not... Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
No, really.
No, go ahead, sir. I was going to say, because spokesperson Jimenez was saying that that's essentially not the job of the COMELEC. They will have to study the case again and see if there are factual merits to it. Which raises the question precisely, no? Na hindi pa ba factual yan? I mean, if I understood him right, yeah.
All you need to do is verify if there is a record of conviction, what case. And if he's been convicted, which carried with it a imprisonment of more than 18 months or more, then he is not qualified.
But that's precisely, isn't that where...
He's not qualified.
But isn't that where Justice Carpio precisely brings up moral turpitude? Because there is the technicality and the fact that the sentencing did not include the 18 months imprisonment.
Well, right? He's being convicted with carries with us 18 months of imprisonment and so on, or involving moral turpitude. That's why in the petition they were doing both, showing that there was conviction and what the crimes were, and also argues that as an alternative ground that is moral question of moral rectitude. It's there.
Yes, sir. But
so
isn't
they're
too...
just trying to say that I give an example of moral turpitude, right? They're saying that, all right, if you missed one, filing a case, a tax return once, you can probably have an excuse. But when you missed 4 times and refuse to pay the fine, then there is an intent not to follow the law. It's a defiance of the law. And that is part of the grounds, because because you file a certificate of candidacy, you are certifying or you are saying that you will obey the laws.
But sir, isn't that a subjective determination? Wouldn't that be a subjective determination on the part of the COMELEC commissioners on whether or not this constitutes moral turpitude? So wouldn't there be deliberation on whether or not...
There is definition. There are cases that define what is moral turpitude. Question of justice, honesty, good morals, and there are decisions of the Supreme Court defining moral turpitude.
But attorney, you have to admit na siyempre medyo subjective din yung moral turpitude na yan, ano? And Bongbong Marcos is saying he was abroad during the period of paying taxes, kaya daw hindi siya pwede at hindi naman daw siya sinabihan. What do you think of this explanation?
When you're a public official, you should know, correct? And he did not file. That's the argument on moral turpitude. That I mean, it is a sign that he was not willing to follow the law, as he has affirmed in his certificate of candidacy.
Okay, if you're saying that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're saying that the COMELEC's job here should be ministerial, then how is it that he was allowed to run several times for office and
Nobody
not
raised it.
disqualified?
No, nobody raised it, and the COMELEC cannot take judicial notice of everything. But if you read the Halos Hos case, where the COMELEC is aware of it and denied his candidacy, and the Supreme Court upheld it. That when there is a fact of this conviction or whatever it is, it becomes a ministerial job of the COMELEC not to allow the candidacy.
Sir, what about the other?
But let me just say one more thing. But if you look at the decisions of the Supreme Court, they also say that there is room for discretion here, depending on the circumstances or context of each case, right? And that can be done, right? But from the point of view of the COMELEC, the facts are there; they do it. Now, who's going to determine the context of this and the particular circumstances? Is the Supreme Court.
Yes, aakyat siya. But if you're saying it's ministerial, medyo mabilis dapat yung decision ng COMELEC, no? And the COMELEC spokesman Jimenez said today na ang decision nila will not come earlier than, I think, end of December. Not quick enough for this kind of case. Kasi we're all expecting it to go to the Supreme Court.
Yun na nga. Pag-aaralan pa raw eh. Yeah.
Yeah. Tama ba lang?
He does not know Jimenez does not know his law.
But is that a reasonable time? End of December?
Parang mahaba yun.
Yes, sir.
That's too long. You
What's
just
a reasonable
determine.
time? Given all the information that we've gathered so far already on the case, nagbigayan ng mga assessment sa mga tao eh. Both parties.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, why is it so difficult to find out if the facts are correct? Why
So
is
what's
it?
a reasonable time to decide
Why should that take 2 months?
on the part of the COMELEC? 1 month, is that okay?
Well, I suppose it can even be faster, di ba?
Sir, let me zoom into another law that was being cited by the petitioners, yung National Internal Revenue Code. Section 253 of the NIRC says that those who violate the code, in this case yung Section 45, yung failure to file income tax returns, violators shall be perpetually disqualified and would not be even allowed to vote. Is this already enough per se, or
Allowed, not, yeah.
is this
Yeah,
enough per
not
se, or
allowed to
kailangan pa
vote.
yung ano?
Or participate.
Or participate, yes, sir.
Right? Yes, that's correct.
So
So it's a question of fact, isn't it?
so dun pa lang,
The consequence of saying it is a question of fact.
so sir, dun pa lang, you don't even have to go to the moral turpitude aspect of anything. Kasi that is more subjective.
Alternative naman yun. You can do
Yes, sir.
either that course of eligibility, yung conviction, or moral turpitude. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Ang ginawa ng petition, they pursued both.
Let me get to what you mean or what you would like to picture when you say, and in fact, not only you, even former COMELEC Commissioner Louis Guia, I think, mentioned it also, ministerial. Di ba? Both of you are saying, ministerial lang yan eh. In your mind, how simple is that, and what does it mean in terms of how fast an action should come?
Well, okay, let's put it this way. Where they may argue is that moral turpitude in the decisions said that there is a context to it, particular circumstances. And maybe that can be used by the COMELEC and say, well, let's look at the circumstances of this. because it's supposed to be applicable in each particular case. What is the context? That may be what the COMELEC is saying. If the argument is moral turpitude, but if the basis is the conviction based with at least 18 months, that's a question of fact.
If the COMELEC disqualifies him, even if he files with the Supreme Court, if he appeals to the Supreme Court, and the COMELEC refuse to include him in the ballot?
No, well, the Supreme Court will have to decide. In the Supreme Court will have to decide. But I don't see how it should take long. It should.
Sir, wala bang
If it takes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wala bang sabihin na natin self-imposed deadline ang COMELEC in cases like this, no, where the need for a decision is urgent. Otherwise, it could cause political upheaval, to say the least.
No. It's just that if the COMELEC drags his feet, and clearly is trying to drag his feet and say, let's delay this and so on, the people will lose trust in the COMELEC, right? That it's not a non-partisan agency that it could be, right? And that's bad for them. Now, I don't know if the COMELEC, whether all of them are appointed by President Duterte, is willing to expose themselves to that. If the people lose trust in the COMELEC, I don't think they want that.